welcome back to the Royal Daily Tea. So just when I think royal news is finally slowing down, oh my goodness, guys, a ton of royal stories have come out. I was approached by some producers of a brand new podcast called Karina and the King. Now, this podcast deals with the mistress and the former king of Spain, King Juan Carlo, who she's currently suing in a British court for stalking and harassment. You guys, this is so freaking juicy. The podcast is told by her. It is her story. So I'm going to do an entire video on the Spanish monarchy, the mistress, the king, the abdication, but that's going to be on my other YouTube channel, Royal Daily Tea, History and Fashion. So make sure you are subscribed to that channel. I'm still researching it, guys, but oh my goodness, it is so juicy. They make the British royals look like kittens, like kindergartners, y'all. This was an abdication. This was serious. I don't even want to get into it because I don't want to spoil it, but you guys, the podcast is amazing and very, very interesting. So I will definitely give you more information once that video is released, but please go over and subscribe to that new channel because there's going to be a lot of juicy royal news over on that channel. But today we have a lot of royalty to cover, so sit back and relax, grab yourself a beverage, and let's get into the Royal Daily Tea. So the Norwegian princess by the name of Martha Louise has finally decided to give up all of her royal duties and royal patronages. Now, this princess, the 51-year-old princess who is currently fourth in line to the Norwegian throne, got engaged last June to an American by the name of Durek Verrett, who describes himself as a healer and a shaman. Now, on his website and through some of their workshops, they had a workshop called The Shaman and the Princess. They literally claim to cure cancer and COVID. He says that cancer is a scam, that doctors just use it for money, that he had a necklace you could buy that cured COVID. And she is a clairvoyant who speaks to angels and has a class where she teaches people to speak to angels. So being a royal princess and using your title for those types of workshops proved to be a little bit of a problem for the Norwegian royals. Now, the king, wasn't very happy with who she got engaged to. He was an American. He didn't understand their traditions, much like another person we know who married into the British monarchy. He didn't take it seriously. He thought it was a joke. And finally, he realized, oh, this is a real thing. There's rules and protocols. Gotcha. Okay. So now she has formally come out and announced that she will no longer carry out official duties for the royal household. Now, in a statement issued by the palace, adding that the decision was made in coordination with her parents to, quote, create peace around the royal household. Now, she still retains her place in the line of succession and the princess title, but she is relinquishing all ties to the royals, all of her patronages, and she cannot call out or link anything to the royals in her social media, on her website. She can't use her title for financial gain, unlike Harry and Meghan, who still use the Duke and Duchess title on all of their commercial projects. Now, a lot of people thought that after Queen Marguerite of Denmark had removed titles from some of her grandchildren, a lot of people had anticipated that the King of Norway would remove the princess title from his daughter, but he did not remove the title. However, she's pretty much, non-existent. She's not doing anything. She doesn't live in the country. She lives in America. So she can no longer, refer to herself as princess or anything with the royal family in any of her social media or business dealings. So really, what does she have left? She's just basically like a family member, kind of like Prince Andrew. She's kind of the Prince Andrew. You got a title, you're part of the family, but you're not to be seen or heard, basically. So that's very interesting news out of Norway. So Meghan Markle has told everyone that she's voted, y'all. Omid Scooby-Doo tweeted out a photo of Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, wearing her I Just Voted badge, showing off a sticker for casting her ballot in the California midterm elections. Now, her and Prince Harry, they still keep pushing the lines, getting involved in politics and bandwagons, which they shouldn't be doing as royals. But again, on the Archwell Foundation website, they have a checklist for voters where you can download a checklist to figure out how to vote, y'all. And also a place where you can text to find local polling locations. Again, Meghan is constantly pushing herself into every single bandwagon and politics, even though she's technically part of the royal family. Now, Harry is not able to vote because he is not an American citizen, and he very smartly was not in that photograph sitting next to Meghan with an I voted sticker, but she was sporting, some Archwell Foundation ball cap, and apparently they've already merched out her $300 jacket that she was wearing in the photograph. But again, in my personal opinion, Harry and Meghan need to follow suit after Martha Louise and drop the titles at the door. Last year, she wrote on her official Duchess letterhead to 100 senators about the Family Leave Act, again blurring the lines between royalty and politics, which are never, ever, ever to be blurred. So again, Harry and Meghan have not learned their lesson to stay out of politics. Well, to be or not to be, guys, that is the question that Meghan Markle is asking on her most current podcast episode. This was definitely a stretch, a snooze fest, and here's what she has to say in her description of this podcast. In this dynamic episode, Meghan explores the origin and plague of the B word and its cousin, difficult, because we all know Meghan is known as difficult, and how these terms are often wrongly applied to strong-minded women, especially in business. In deep and meaningful conversations with trailblazers Melody Hobson and Victoria Jackson, Meghan investigates the language used to gaslight women as they grow their careers as entrepreneurs and on the corporate ladder. Creator and writer Robin Thede also joins Meghan, along with author Alison Yarrow and zoologist and author Lucy Cook. Now, we all know that women, strong women, have been referred to the B word for many, many years. But again, does that really bother women? Is it holding people down because you're called the B word? Nobody really cares anymore. We have strong, independent, boss babe women every single day. But again, Meghan is always trying to kind of defend herself from everything she's ever been called and say, well, it's just because I know what I want and I'm particular and I'm a strong-minded businesswoman. They call me difficult. They call me pushy. They call me the B word because I'm not any of those things, y'all. I'm just a hardworking, independent woman who happened to have married well, and that's where I've gotten my success and money, but that's beside the point. That's beside the point. This is a woman who came with her own graveyard of people she has used and ghosted over the years. Well before she met Harry, and on her way to marry Prince Harry, boy, that graveyard got real full. There were funerals every week, and people that she was just cutting off. There's colleagues and managers and friends. I mean, people like Piers Morgan got ghosted by Megxie, which I'm sure she probably regrets because he became her biggest enemy with the biggest mouth. So Meghan has a whole graveyard of mistreating people that she has followed around her entire professional life. So she can't just say, well, people are saying I'm mean because I'm a professional woman and I know what I want and they're just jealous and they want to call me the B word or the bully word. That's not me. It's just because I happen to speak matter-of-factly and I get to the point and I'm abrupt and I don't coddle people. No, Meghan, that's not why people call you that. So this whole episode talks about the B word and the stigma that people attached to strong-minded, independent women call them the B word. But an interesting thing that I found was she talks about as a child that she was obsessed with Jeopardy. Again, trying to paint the picture that Meghan's the brainiac genius among all of us dumb folk. Again, she's smarter than everybody, but yet she fails the entrance exam to work at the UN, and she didn't pass the exam to become a UK citizen, was not the valedictorian of her high school, but tells everyone she was the smart girl. She was the ugly duckling. Again, nothing ever seems to quite match her narrative. And now she's talking about how as a child she was obsessed with Jeopardy, and that when Alex Trebek died, people sent her condolences because as a child she had a love of words, a love of facts, and she likes to be around people who have expansive vocabulary. Now that does make a little bit of sense to me because there's always something a little unauthentic and off-putting about Meghan, but I couldn't put my finger on it. Why is she so unauthentic? Why is she so fake? What is so off-putting? Well, there's quite a few things. But the problem with Meghan is she's like the Swiss Army knife of people. She's just got everything's in the kitchen sink. You know, you went to Africa, I went to Africa. You went to Ohio, I lived in Ohio. Like she's just too much for everybody all the time. She's the Swiss Army knife. She always got to one-up somebody. With all of her guests, with the Korean spa and the angry black woman, and with Serena Williams telling the story of how her daughter fell out of the chair, Meghan had to bring up Archie almost died in a fire. Like she's always just got to bring this stuff out. But I notice she likes to name drop a lot of these political figures that no one has ever heard of. And she always tries to use these words that are really like, it's like she looked up the dictionary that day, flipped up the word of the day, a word that no one has heard of or quite frankly uses in everyday language. And so she tries to be the cool California mom. I'm the new Julia Roberts, just like everybody, but I'm super rich. And then she throws in these like weird names of these like authors or poets or ambassadors or political people that we've never heard of. And then these weird words. And so she's trying to associate the fact that I think she's trying to convince herself and everyone around us that she's such an evolved person because she uses these big words that she literally probably just looked up in the dictionary. So every time she does an episode, she throws in these words or these people or these references that most people wouldn't know on an everyday basis because she has this obsession with looking smart or important or well-read or well-rounded or well-educated, but nothing else quite matches up to that persona of her being a brainiac. I mean, she was a showgirl holding a briefcase. I mean, she was the girl who gave a BJ in 90210. She had a bit part, right? A bit part on a show called Horrible Bosses, and she was on Suits for like 5 years. She didn't even really make it as an actress. So you didn't really make it that far in college where you failed the entrance exam to work for the UN. You didn't pass the exam to become a UK citizen because it was really hard. But for a woman who does Wordle and who was obsessed with Jeopardy as a child, those people tend to be kind of smart. Am I right? Do they tend to be kind of smart? They're brainiacs. They're always reading. Well, you didn't do that great in high school or college. Your grades didn't stand out. And then you just dropped your education and went to go be a showgirl? Like, it makes no sense. And then you weren't even a good showgirl. You got to like the C level and then you stopped, right? You're such a brainiac feminist, but you didn't get on the map until you married a man. And then you just stopped. You're no longer acting. And now you're just the ex-duchess because you couldn't even hang it as a duchess. So you didn't do that well in high school. You didn't do that well in college. You didn't get to do the internship at the UN because you failed the exam. Then you went off to Hollywood where you became a C-level actress. Then you married a prince and became a duchess. And after a year and a half, you couldn't even handle that. Now you're back in Hollywood where you're kind of mediocrely successful in your Megxit 2.5 years failure to launch series, but now you're trying to convince everyone you're such a go-getter, brainiac woman who's quite frankly never really succeeded at anything except for marrying well. Did I miss anything? Because quite frankly, you haven't succeeded at anything you've tried. You've gotten to a mediocre level and then you quit. You quit acting, and you were a duchess for barely a year and a half with 72 working days, and you quit. So now you're doing your podcast where you're doing the to be or not to be because people called you a bully or they called you a bitch, but you would prefer to be called beautiful or beguiling or bedazzling because in your head you're still Ariel, but we all know that you're Ursula. So her interpretation is that that word is such an ugly word, it's a stereotype used to gaslight and hold women down. But I don't think in 2022 it's really holding anyone down. People wear t-shirts with the C-U-N-T word on it. Okay? They've escalated to way worse than the B word. People refer to their friends like, yo, B, what's up? There's so many different connotations of that word. Most people who are really determined aren't going to be afraid because some guy called her a B. They're like, whatever. That's not going to hold a woman back. So she says the word difficult is the sister to the B word because we all know Meghan has been labeled as difficult or pushy. Her sister wrote a book called Her Princess Pushy. So this was a very weak argument. Again, Meghan's always trying to defend herself, make herself this innocent person. She says, you know, not everyone's going to like you, but the goal is everyone's going to respect you. Well, quite frankly, you failed on that too. You can't get respect unless you give respect. You have to earn respect. Bullying people into submission and fear and throwing your weight and titles around is not how you get respect. You know, the story they talked about in the courtiers where Meghan said to some of the advisors, you know, one of these days we both know I'm going to be your boss. That doesn't sound like a real nice person to me. That sounds like a B. That's not a woman who's in control of her life and says, I know what I want, I'm out to get it. That sounds like a controlling, manipulative, conniving, narcissistic woman. Okay? A woman who threatens her boyfriend, you don't tell people I'm your girlfriend, I'm out of here. That's not a woman who's saying, hey, I'm in charge of my life, I know what I want, I'm asking for what I want. That's a woman who's threatening and demanding. This is a woman who has been cutthroat, has that graveyard of casts off of people that she uses, abuses, and throws away. So Meghan confuses people calling her a B word, bully or biatch, because she's straightforward and she's particular and she's determined. There's nothing wrong with any of those things. It's how you get there. And we all know how Meghan got there, by using people. Okay, she's a manipulative woman. There's a difference. You know, Catherine, the Princess of Wales, when she first came on the scene as Kate Middleton and was dating Prince William, people were very unkind to her. They called her and her sister the Wisteria sisters because they said they were social climbers, and that her mother, Carol Middleton, worked really hard to make sure she went to St. Andrews, where Prince William went to college, like it was all a ruse, like it was a trap, that they were trying to get her to be with Prince William. Well, she dated the man for 8 years, and they called her Waity Katie. She had to quit her job because the press hounded her. She had a lot of people giving her a very hard time, and she's been the Duchess and now the Princess for 11 years. And she has earned respect because she's worked hard to get it. But she did not get it in the very beginning. She had to work for it. Now people would be like, if we didn't have her, what would happen? People have become so attached to her that she most recently went to the rugby league quarterfinals. The crowd went crazy. People love Catherine because she has become dependable and respectful and has represented the crown impeccably, just like Princess Anne. But she's had to work, just like Camilla. Camilla has had to work for 17 years to get respect, and she still has a lot of haters. But there's a difference between women like Catherine and Camilla and Princess Anne and Meghan Markle. Meghan Markle is self-serving and wants a quick reward. She dumps stuff when it doesn't suit her narrative very quickly. She dumped acting. She dumped her husband through the mail. She dumped being a duchess. She dumped Sunshine Sachs because they couldn't create the fake lollipop princess narrative that she was trying to create because people were seeing through her bullcrap. No matter how many PR fluff pieces, there was only so much those people could do. You know what I mean? They were working overtime for her, but it just wasn't working. So she doesn't stick with things or people or causes because she's one of those people, she's jumping on to the next thing. She's a quitter. In my opinion, she is a professional quitter. She gets up to a mediocre rise and then she weighs her pros and cons. Is this serving me? Is this not serving me? And if it's not, she's off. She's basically a narcissist. That's what they do. They do things until it's no longer serving them and then they're out. That's what she does. So she's trying to pretend, well, people are calling me these things, but I'm just a really nice person. No, Meghan, you're not. Okay, there's too many people, too many instances, too many people in that graveyard who would say otherwise. So this whole thing about calling a woman the B word and how it's horrible and detrimental, I don't really think that applies to pretty much anybody in 2022. I don't care what you call me because I'm the type of person I'm going to keep working and prove to you I'm successful. Call me whatever you want, as long as the money's in the bank, sweetheart. I don't care what you call me. So this whole thing, this whole narrative was her way, I guess, of fighting back on the bullying allegations and saying that women who know what they want and are direct, they're just women who know what they want. They're not bitches. But again, she has this one little quote. It said, the goal cannot be everyone is going to like you, but the goal can be everyone is to respect you. Well, Meghan, you failed again. You can't be the Swiss Army knife of people and personalities and then expect people to like you because you're throwing out whatever's going to fit the narrative for that moment with that person. People can tell if you're real or authentic. And you're not authentic. There's nothing real about you. That's the problem. Is she's trying so hard to be liked and to fit into everyone's narrative and kind of shifting herself, wearing a different skin, you know, kind of the single white female, just trying to wear everyone's persona. It's like, just be yourself, Meghan, if you even know who you are, because she's still method acting and pretending to be Julia Roberts, the California cool mom who speaks all these languages, who's a brainiac, but she's not a bitch, y'all. She's just super sweet and misunderstood. But then all these people are scared to walk in the room and cry in the corner. You know, you don't hear any of these stories about Kate. Kate has been in the public eye for 20 years. You don't have any disgruntled employees, ex-friends. No one is saying anything negative about her. Meghan has barely been around for 5 years, and before she even married him, stories were already coming out from her past. There's been 2 books written about her from 80 people Tom Bauer interviewed. You know that old saying, where there's smoke, there's fire. And most of it came from her own family. You can't make it up, guys. You can't say that the press did it to you. You did it to yourself with your own actions. So if people want to call you the B word, honey, it's probably because you earned it. Okay? You earned it. It's how you treat people. Abusing people and using people to get to the middle, which is basically what you did, didn't really pan out for you, did it? You basically were a lucky woman who happened to be in the right place at the right time that you strategically set up, and you married well. You married a prince. Again, it was nothing to do with any of your talent or your brainiac ways of watching Jeopardy and playing Wordle. You were lucky that you got a prince to marry you and you got married. That is how you are successful. That is how you are famous. You are famous because who you married. Period. Has nothing to do with you being on Suits or anything else that you have done for your 41 years. That is my opinion. Now, Catherine, on the other hand, also married well, but she's done something with the platform that she was given. And she has earned respect. 2 different women. One's a quitter, one is a success story. So once you put that in your next episode, S for success, and maybe you could do an episode on Catherine, the Princess of Wales. So that's all I have for you guys today. Let me know your thoughts if you listen to the podcast, to be or not to be, and did you come out with anything different than I did? Let me know if you're excited about the upcoming video that's coming on my other channel. Hopefully it will be done this weekend because I have to research it, but guys, it is so juicy. Thank you guys so much for stopping by the channel. Please be sure to check me out on TikTok and all of my other social media accounts, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.